Residential wiring. It's hidden right there behind our drywall, completely invisible. And honestly, most of the time, we just kind of cross our fingers and hope it all works out. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to take this entirely invisible, abstract scientific concept and turn it into something concrete, something you can quite literally imagine holding right in the palm of your hand.
Okay, let's dive right into this. You might be wondering, how can a simple garden hose explain invisible electricity? It sounds almost too simple, right? But honestly, the most brilliant explanations usually are. We're not going to bury our heads in dense physics textbooks today. Nope. Instead, we're heading straight out to the backyard for a foundational metaphor that is absolutely going to change how you view the outlets in your home.
To really master residential wiring, we just need to look at three core concepts: volts, amps, and watts. You've probably seen these terms printed on a light bulb box, or maybe muttered them under your breath while resetting a tripped breaker in the dark. So let's just quickly demystify them, one by one.
First up is volts. Now, I want you to think of voltage purely as electrical force. Picture this. You're physically holding that garden hose. You've just cranked the metal spigot wide open, and all that water is pushing incredibly hard against the inside of the rubber. It's vibrating, right? It feels ready to burst. That physical, palpable push, that isolated force, well, that is our voltage.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. When you hear the word voltage in a residential wiring context, you are literally just hearing a measurement of pressure. High voltage simply means high pressure pushing through the system. It's exactly like a high-pressure hose that's threatening to blast right out of your grip and soak you with a rogue spray. It is the raw, driving energy of the whole shebang.
Let's move to our next variable and see how this builds up. Because, force alone just isn't enough. We actually need a path for that force to travel along. And that brings us to amps, the electrical flow. If volts give us that initial push, amps give us the pathway for that push to travel through.
Now, what's really interesting here is how that concept of flow translates into a physical dimension. Think of amps as the actual thickness of the hose. We aren't just talking about how fast the water is moving. We're talking about physical capacity. I mean, a tiny little drinking straw has a vastly different flow capacity than a massive, thick fire hose, right? No matter how much pressure is behind it.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this: how much electricity is flowing. That is the absolute essence of amperage. It's entirely a volume game. The physical thickness of the hose directly dictates the sheer volume of water, or in our case, electricity, that can safely travel through your walls without overheating the whole system.
Okay, so we have pressure pushing the water, and we have the thickness of the hose dictating the capacity of that flow. But what exactly happens when we finally combine them? Well, we reach the climax of our electrical system: watts. Watts represent the total power. This is the grand culmination of everything we've built so far in our little backyard analogy. So the crucial point to remember is that wattage represents the overall output of the entire system working together. It's the actual real-world work getting done. Whether you're looking at a standard 60-watt light bulb or a heavy-duty 1500-watt microwave oven, you are basically looking at the total amount of water successfully hitting the garden bed at the very end of the hose.
To really lock this in, let's just turn the math into a super clear physical procedure. To calculate your total power, your watts, you simply multiply the volts by the amps. In other words, you multiply the water pressure by the physical thickness of the hose, and boom, you've got your total power output. It's such a beautifully simple, logical relationship, and it governs literally all the energy running through your home.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a concrete visualization you can take with you. The next time you flip on a light switch, just ask yourself, how much pressure is in your hose? By grounding this invisible science in a completely tangible reality, residential wiring really isn't a mystery anymore. It's just pressure, thickness, and total power. Keep that visualization in your head, and you will always understand the flow of electricity.
Thanks so much for learning with me today.